Would you please briefly introduce yourself and take us through the MAPI program?
My name is Majo and I work as the team leader outreach program stroke trainings from MAPI. MAPI is an organization which is providing services to the key populations, to the LGBTI community, and the sex worker, the IDU, the uniformed personnel. So MAPI is most at-risk population initiative. It provides services to that category, and it started since 2008 up to date. Now what we normally do is that we train peer leaders, and these peer leaders are identified by different categories of people, because for them they understand themselves very well. So for us, our work is training. For them, their work is to identify. So these peer leaders are helping us a lot in mobilizing, in referring those clients to us, in linking up those clients to us, and even doing, giving us feedback, how we are doing the program, is it okay, where they feel there is need of putting in more energy, where they feel there is a gap so that we can fill it. So these peer leaders are doing a very great job, and it's indeed a very nice thing. And even they help us in adherence. For those clients who are bedridden, so these peer leaders are the ones who are helping them to see that they get food, to see that we can bring them here to the clinic. If at all they are admitted, to see that they are faring well during the admission. And what we normally do during day-to-day activities, we have a health facility here. People come, they open up their files, they are treated very well. Why we are targeting these most at-risk people is because we realize that we are not providing services to all, as the right says. So we realize that if at all we will look for the other communities and they are helped well, they get health education, they get treatment, and we leave out this category of people, we realize that it was not fair for them. So, and as of now, what we are doing is that we are putting more service providers on board. We orient them for them to know who are these key populations, because we realize that for us, we think that people know and they do not know. And it has helped us a lot for them to understand, especially the service providers, because for us we have our code of conduct, treatment to all. Even if a thief is running and he's shot, we have to give the best care with with smiles and everything. So that is our role, to see that everyone is given the best services. So that is why we are targeting this category of people. And we normally do outreaches. We find them where they are. For the sex workers, we find them in their brothels. For the LGBTI, they have their own safe spaces. If at all they attend, they can prefer to be worked on in a place, and then we go and provide services. Because you understand that these people are stigmatized, so some of them they fear. They fear to move a lot in public, because people, they pinpoint them. You will see this one is a gay man, this one is a lesbian, this one is so and so. So what we normally do is we find them where they are, and we provide treatment, to these categories in the community.
All right. And then I understand this is a government-funded program, or is it?
No, it's
private?
not government.
Okay.
We are using the facilities of the government for sustainability. So our work is to inform government that these categories of people are there and these are the challenges. Because if at all we don't do that, then the government will not know. So MAPI is just helping the government to understand that these categories of people are existing and these are the challenges they are facing. You get it? And we get funds from CDC. So what the government is helping is that they are giving us space.
Okay.
Yes. And even the ministry helps us to come up with guidelines which can help service providers to provide services when they are free, because sometimes some service providers were also stigmatized that we fear to provide services, those people are criminalized, and so we work hand in hand with the ministry to give us guidance on providing services to these key populations. Yeah.
Have you reached out to the government in any way, especially for funding, and what has been their response?
Yeah, the government now is coming on board because there are so many policies which they are coming up with. When we started giving them the feedback and the need to see that these people are being given services, so the government has started identifying different government hospitals to see that we orient service providers from those hospitals for them to provide services for those key populations, because we've been having challenges with people who are far, like in Barara, in Fort Potro, in Gulu. So they travel all the way from Gulu to come and get STI treatment in Kampala. So we realized that it is unfair for these communities. So what we are doing is that we are strategizing, we are making plans to orient service providers from Gulu National Referral Hospital, and then we are going to open up MAPI clinics there. Already it's on board, in Gulu it's there, in Barara it's there, and in Valley. So now, so that more service providers understand who are these categories of people. Yes.
The biggest problem, I think, for the community has been professionals using their personal values and beliefs to deny them what should be rightfully theirs. How are you dealing with that? Like bringing more doctors on board and helping them understand that this has nothing to do with someone's sexuality, what they do.
These are the orientation we're talking of. What we do, we held 5 days orientation, and sometimes even we invite these categories to come and talk on their own, for them to understand that they are existing. Because usually we used to hold trainings and we talk, but nowadays we give in some time and we invite a sex worker, a lesbian, a trans man, a trans woman, an MSM, a bisexual, for them to understand that if we're talking about bisexuals, who are they? If we are telling you about the MSM, who are they? The lesbians, who are these people? So when they come and they talk on their own behalf and they tell them what they feel, it makes a lot of difference. And this is what we are doing. So far, we've been training service providers from KCCA. And we did it with the Spectrum, with even other organizations. And what was there is that when you go back, you don't find anything on the ground. So what we did, we trained them, and then we went there. Last week, we went there to see site visit. And when we reached there, it was at least 4 health centers they have tried to identify. And they said, you know, after when you took us through and we saw those people, now we know those categories and we can identify them. We know where to find them. And then we have started going there and talking to them. You see, and for us, we were so happy because now we can see that more people are doing this work. They should not leave everything to us, because we cannot finish everything. We cannot work here and there. Yes. So they have started changing their attitude. Although it's a continuous process, we shall be with them, we shall continue orienting them, you know, and getting feedback from them so that they also come on board. Yeah.
Then I'd say the biggest problem with these key populations is the HIV prevalence. How has this program helped to bring it down? What are you sensitizing people about? Because yes, we all get to hear about the safe sex and the usual, but what are you teaching them that could be different and still be applicable to the general population?
Yeah, we normally don't use the safe sex and whatever, so we talk about sex approach. Yeah, it's sex approach because we want these categories to be responsible for themselves. And you cannot talk about that when you are talking about safe. What safe are you talking about? I mean, so it becomes very difficult for people to come out and explain more, because which is safe and which is not safe. So when we realize that there is a gap with that, so we normally call it a sex approach, because it is a right of anybody, the way he plays sex. Somebody can say, for me, I don't do vaginal sex, I do breast sex, and I feel I'm okay. So what we are doing is that we are bringing new topics on board. for them to understand more, and you know, they become responsible for their health, for their health. Because usually we've been talking about ABC, you know, since even when we are still young, up to now, people are talking about ABC and safer sex and what. So we are reading books, and when we find that there are some topics which are genuine for these categories of people, these are the things we are bringing out. When we talk about STIs, usually we used to talk about gonorrhea, this and that. But what we do, because this is a learning center and it's a referral center, so what we do, we show them, when we talk about STIs, we want them to know how, to see how they look like. If it's gonorrhea, we show them how gonorrhea looks like. If at all you have that, then you can come and access services. But usually we used to go on radios and you talk, and people do not see anything. When you talk about anal warts or vaginal warts, they don't understand what are those warts. So if someone gets a wart, it's say, for me, I got a wound in my vagina. But you know, when we show them, then they become responsible. If at all they get any problem, they'll just call you and come and access. Yeah. And even this can help. If at all we can get funding, it can help even in the community.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then do you think MAPI being based in Mulago right now is helping, especially with this hospital's reputation? People think it's very difficult to access services because, one, yes, probably the medicine is not even available, or the crowds are a bit too much, and then the personnel have a really bad reputation, and these are people who are already discriminated against, so they don't want to come to hospital and still face these problems.
Really? You know, before it was like that, but using the peer-led mechanism, now they know that when you come to MAPI, you'll be, you know, worked on well, and even when they come, and those ones who are worked on well, they go back and inform others that it's okay, you can go. Yeah, before it was there, but nowadays they don't think about that. They know that this is their clinic and they like it very much. Yes.
What would you say has been the biggest achievement for the program?
The biggest achievement is that now we have many categories of people who are demanding services. It's a very biggest achievement. Usually before, when we started, people were like, are you going to give us transport refund? Are you going to give us, you come to test, you will have to give us transport refund. But now it's them who are demanding. As we talk now, we have like 3 activities within a week, and we're just trying to see how we figured it out. And before it was like, you can call someone, when are we doing that activity? When are you doing that activity? And you know, these people, they need transport refund. But now, no. They are the ones, please come with condoms, please come with counselors who will help us in social, in psychosocial, you know. So it is no longer a challenge to us. So I see that is the biggest achievement, because we had to use a lot of money to reach these people. But now even it is them. Some of these organizations are looking for money and they call us, and even they pay our staff. They say, Masawa, you know, this is your money. And before it was not there. It was like we, after treating, then we are the one to give them what? So when they realized that we are doing a lot of work for them, so they started appreciating, and it changed. So that is the very biggest achievement on my side. Yeah.
And what challenges have you faced?
Oh, the challenges are with funds. We have a problem with funds. The challenge is that so many those big organizations, the donor funders, they have reduced on the money which they were giving. And as I told you, the programs we are on, you cannot go and open up a clinic in a homophobic place and you don't put someone who is friendly to orient these other service providers to come on board. Because someone who is homophobic cannot change within 5 days in a training. So you have to put hands-on, a person or 2 people to be there, orienting them. This is the way it is done, this is the way you can reply them, this is the way you get it. So from there, then they can, it can become a model clinic. So those are the challenges. When we send our peers in the community to do mobilization, they need airtime, they need transport to move. So it becomes a problem, much as they want to help their fellows, they end up using their own money. Sometimes even they foot. They say, I did not have money, but I had to bring this guy and I don't have transport, so I have to travel back footing because, so that is the biggest challenge, because you cannot work with peers who are not facilitated. and they are doing a very, very big work in their setting, because they are the ones who are doing the home visit to these people. They are the ones who are bringing them. They are the ones who are doing, they are buddies to those ones who are on art. So if at all they are not facilitated, it becomes a very big challenge. And even the staffs, as we talk now, as you saw, the clinic was full of people. So if at all the clinic has many clients and few staffs, then it will not make a difference. You get it? So I'm just appealing to donors that they should see that this model clinic be facilitated well for people to appreciate. Usually we used to complain about drugs. Now we have drugs. We cannot complain. We have drugs. We have STD drugs. We have everything. But with the staffs, it is really, really very, very, it's a challenge. You cannot make people, do voluntary services for years. Voluntary has to have an end. You cannot make people do voluntary work for years. It can bring in some other problems, because if it can bring in some cheat shidogo, you want me to help, you can give me the 10,000, then I will come. You get it, and you don't want that. So that is the biggest challenge. If at all they can just come in and help us, and even outreach activities, we need a lot of money, because we have to hire the venues where we work. We have to hire the people to move in the community, those lab technicians, the doctors, because we cannot close the clinic because we have an outreach. So we have to be having these locums, and they have to be paid. You get it? So with key population, by the way, it's very expensive to do an outreach for key populations, because for the normal community, you can go in a field, football pitch, you can go anywhere. But for them, because they are stigmatized, they fear some places. Yeah.
Then how has the homophobia affected this program, especially with the anti-homosexuality bill? The general public itself is closed off to embracing, especially the LGBTI community, and yes, and the sex workers. Hasn't it had an effect on this program?
I can say yes, I can say no. Because, for us, first of all, we first sensitized people. We first sensitized people for them to come and access. But homophobia is within the community and the parliament. And I'm just telling you that the parliamentarians wouldn't have been having this if they are sensitized about the key populations. Because maybe we don't have those funds for us to sensitize the religious leaders, the policymakers, for them to understand who are these key populations, because what they know is very totally different on what is on the ground. And you cannot talk much unless you have that environment where you have time for them to ask questions, for them to be engaged, and for them to understand. Otherwise they will just be on air and say, these are pampered people. Because I've been telling them, but for me we've been providing services and we have never seen anyone putting on a pamper. They say yes, and then why did you come and tell us? And we are telling them, you know what, because for you've been talking about this, we thought that maybe you have evidence somewhere where we have not reached. And they were like, no, because for us this is what we thought. So all in all, what I want to say is that, can we get funds for sensitizing these populations, for them to understand, when you talk about these key populations, for them to understand who are they? Because when you talk about MSM, for them they know anesthetics. That is what they know. And this is not the truth, So they should understand who these people are and what they do, and then when we sensitize them, I think we shall be running away with homophobia.
Yes. So you're saying if we had a platform for dialogue, especially with our parliamentarians, because I think it starts from there. If that platform was created, you think the homophobia in this country would go down? Exactly,
and even the religious leaders. Because when we have engaged with the religious leaders, we had a training for their service providers, and they said, why didn't you come and tell us even before passing the bill? Because what you are telling us is totally different. And we told them, yes, we couldn't, because for you, we used to see you on TVs. And maybe for us, we thought that we have evidence. So I think we need to put more people on board for them to understand. For them to understand, and the religious leaders, we told them that if you say that sex work is illegal, and you see that sex workers are sinners, that even God went out to look for those sinners, for them to bring those sinners on board, then the religious leaders, this is their role. By the way, what we are doing is the religious leaders' role. If they are to say that these people are sinners, because if you know that so and so is a sinner, go to that person, because this is your day-to-day work, and find out if he's a sinner. How are you bringing him or her on board? You get it? If at all you need to make programs, can you go and make programs for them so that you understand them and they understand you? Yeah.
Then earlier you said you mentioned something about food, which got me thinking if there are any other services you provide to these key populations apart from the health services that you've already made clear.
Which like what? Like
you mentioned food.
Yeah, food. Let me tell you, with
clothing,
food,
shelter.
With food, that one we do it on an individual basis, like as a human being, and you say, oh my God, this is the guy who was just away from home, and he doesn't have where to sleep, and he's HIV positive, and he is on drugs, and he needs something to eat, and then you provide something to eat. You get it, an individual, because we don't have totally anything. And we're like, can we get an organization which can help us and do the welfare bit of it, to help these people for adherence, and even for them to take their drugs properly in time when they have food. Because look at the scenario whereby this MSM is bedridden. He doesn't have an auntie, mother, sister, whatever, and he cannot go out to work. Now, how is he going to take the drugs? So these are the challenges, as I mentioned before.
Right, as a heterosexual person, I know it's a personal journey, it's a personal battle where you have to, most people have that back and forth. Yes, I understand they're human, but then on a personal level, besides the fact that you're a health worker, how did you come out of that shell and decide, I have to do this for the good of these marginalized people?
Yeah, the good thing of it is that from day one I started working with the sex workers. When I started working, we had researchers here in Malawi, and I was working with the sex workers, and I was working as a team leader in the community again in that. So it became easier for me. At first I was wondering, do these people exist? So when I went on the ground and I realized that they existed, and when I started working with them, they gave me their challenges and problems. So, I realized that these are the people we're supposed to work on. So when it came to the LGBT community, it was just I did not have any challenge. And even way back home, we had many people. My dad used to bring many people, orphans at home. Whenever you go, you find like 6 of them, and you're wondering, who are these? No, those ones, their parents died, and the father brought those people. So we grew up in the family with those people who have got challenges. So it became easier for me to work on these people. Yeah, since it was not me.
Okay, is there anything else that you'd want to share with us about the program?
Yeah, about the program, as I told you that we're opening up new clinics in different regions, and the good thing is that they're in charge of those hospitals are just waiting. They can't wait. He said, it is even overdue. So these are the programs we are going to do. We already orientation has taken place, so we want to move with them, for them to see how they can provide services, a hands-on program. Yes, we don't have funds, but we say that we have to move, and we go, and so that we can help our people, our category of people. And other programs is that we are going to sensitize more police officers, for them to understand in those regions where we've opened up clinics, so that we work hand in hand, we work together with them, for them to help these categories of people. Because for them, they also had their own myth, and they are ready to change, and they were like, no, you come and tell us, because for us, we don't know that. So these are the programs we are going to do. we are having more organizations which would love to network with us, much as they are also looking for funds here and there. And we're just waiting for them. If at all they come, yeah, we shall be working hand in hand with them. If at all they don't come, we shall continue providing services the way we've been doing now. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's
Welcome.
been quite sensitizing. It's okay, we'll cut it out. At least we know where we stopped.
Owange ebirira netawunya naye body is Chris namugambye byonna bigenda kukeera we are just waiting for